Well, hello. Hey there. How are you, everybody? Happy Wednesday. I'm here like I am every Wednesday to kind of do a little bit of a follow up. I like to do a little bit of a follow up to the podcast topic that came out the week before. And so I want to invite you to join me. Ask me questions. You got something on your mind, something you want to talk about? Come on over. Tell me what's up with you. I am super excited to be able to talk about this week's topic because it's something that I hear all the time. It's something that I see all the time. And the topic this week is possibilities. Possibilities. So, like, what do I mean when I say possibilities? I'll tell you about that in just a moment. But before I do that, I do want to encourage you. Please comment, say hello. I love to make this as interactive as possible. And going forward, hopefully we can grow this and make this a regular thing where we can have conversations every week. So, possibilities. What am I talking about when I say possibilities? One thing that makes such a huge difference to me, to pretty much anyone else, like kind of dealing with this stuff, is what we look at as possible, right? What we look at as the reality. Let me explain what I mean, right? So here's what happens, right? Something happens at work, something happens in your day, and all of a sudden it looks like something's going to go wrong, right? It hasn't gone wrong yet, and this is really key. It hasn't gone wrong yet, but we become absolutely fixated that it's going to go wrong. Now, there is nothing wrong with preparing, right? There's nothing wrong with looking at this and being like, oh, wow, this could go, pear shaped. So I'm going to like deal with it. Excuse me, or I'm going to be prepared, or I'm going to be ready, or whatever it might mean. That all makes perfect sense. What doesn't make sense, and tell me if this sounds familiar, as we look at a situation, things haven't gone wrong. The worst case hasn't come true. The thing we were hoping to find didn't actually or hasn't happened yet, but we start thinking and behaving in a way as if it already has. Now, this is so simple and it's so easily overlooked by people. But here's what happens, right? There's a scenario, there's a problem, there's an issue, there's something that's popping up for us, right? This thing is coming. Now, um it is absolutely, it's a possibility is what I'm trying to say, right? It's possible, but it hasn't happened. And yet we like latch onto this thing, right? We think about, oh, what if this really bad thing happened? Like, what if this happened and I lost my job? What if this happened and I don't know, got in a car accident? Like, what if this happened and I right, on and on and on. And so we think of a scenario that is sufficiently scary. We think that thought, and then it scares the shit out of us. And then, because of the scared reaction, all of a sudden we mistake that for something real, right? So let me say that again. There's a potential scenario among millions, right? Like, so just so we're clear, there are literally like infinite possibilities of what could actually happen. We hyper focus on one, we create this picture in our heads, and then we freak out about it. And us freaking out about it innocently, we think that our emotions, our freak out emotions about it, mean that there's something wrong with us, or that there's actually a problem in the world, or that there's something going on that we have to deal with. And yet it is all in our minds, right? It's created by us. We think it, and all of a sudden, boom, here it is. But we've created the whole thing, right? This is super duper common. And, a lot of the work that I do is with people who are shifting their relationship with alcohol. And oftentimes, in shifting your relationship with alcohol, there's a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of fear of like running into these things and engaging with these things that cause problems for us, right? There's a lot of fear in, man, what am I going to do if I do hit that financial snag? What am I going to do if I do hit that problem that I'm dealing with? And that fear seizes us up. And then this one possibility is all we can see. So why is this a big deal, right? Why am I talking on and on and on about possibilities? Well, it's a big deal because when we focus on that possibility, on that one outcome amongst the infinite number of outcomes, we are creating an experience that kind of sucks, right? Like we're creating, yeah, Russ just said, I'm really seeing the mind body connection lately. Yeah. And this is exactly where I'm getting to, my man. But yes, um, we're creating a scenario where we're painting a picture and then it scares us and our entire experience is terrible over nothing, over a thought, right? Not over a situation, not over something that actually happened, over something that we think might happen, right? Or that we think could happen, but has yet to happen yet. Let me give you sort of an analogy, a way to talk about this, which is kind of funny, but it kind of illustrates the point. Like imagine that you are a painter, right? And imagine that someone asks you, hey, can you paint the scariest picture you can think of, right? And so you start painting and you paint this, I don't know, like a demon and hiding in the shadows and all types of scary shit. And you paint it so well that at one point you look at it, you put down the paintbrush and you freak out. You scare yourself because of the painting that you made, right? That's silly. That's not something we talk about. That's sort of like nonsensical. And yet, that is exactly what happens with our thinking, right? This is exactly what we do. And this is a direct consequence over not recognizing the possibilities. It's a direct consequence over hyper focusing on one particular possibility or one particular outcome. Now, Russ, man, to your comment about the mind body connection, this just serves as part of the feedback loop, right? So we have this thought about this scary thing that starts to get our mind racing. Our heart starts beating kind of fast. Maybe we get kind of nervous. I know with me, when I get anxiety, my chest gets tight. All of these things start happening. And these things are our usual indicators of anxiety. There are usual indicators of, oh, there's a problem. And so again, we mistake this signal like, wow, if my chest is getting tight about this, and there must actually be something wrong, right? I would assert, no, there is nothing wrong. The only thing you're feeling is your thinking. Again, go back to the painter idea, right? The painter standing in front of that painting saying, man, I'm feeling my chest getting kind of tight. There must be something actually wrong here, right? Maybe there's something actually going to jump out of this painting. Maybe this demon I painted is actually going to haunt me, right? None of that makes sense. Yet we do it all the time with thinking. And listen, like the modern world is really built on engaging you in all different types of ways, right? And I have a lot that I have to say about like things like social media and how we're manipulated through marketing and advertising. There's a lot to talk about, and I'm not going to go into all that now. I will say though that a big part of the psychology of how we operate nowadays, of how websites get you to pay attention, is to create scenarios that scare the shit out of you. And then you mistake that for a real, actual present danger. And then you stay engaged. Right. And so we have these lives that are like filled with anxiety and tension, and we're not even totally sure why. We're not even totally sure how. And that anxiety and tension is a self-reinforcing thing, right? We feel this stuff, we think these thoughts, we have these emotions, we have this working on, yeah. And Russ, dude, lower back pain, we'll talk about this in a second, but like we'll have this experience, and because of the way we're feeling, we mistake what's going on out there for our own emotions, and there we go, right? One of the things I've been doing a lot of recently, I'm about to do something, this is crazy. I'm about to do something I haven't done in a long time. I'm going to go to Target later today, and I'm going to buy an alarm clock. Like an actual alarm clock. Remember those? It turns out they still make them. I wasn't sure they did. And I'm doing this because I've been, so connected to my phone that like it doesn't feel good, right? And I want to move in another direction, and I want to get away from this constant reinforcing like thought stream and anxiety and all of this stuff that comes from everything. Right. And it doesn't mean, I mean, I love online. I work online, right? I know most of you I know online. It's fantastic, right? But what I am beginning to recognize in myself is the thinking patterns and the emotions are being created through checking the news, through being on Facebook. I really don't like it. So I want to kind of put it and compartmentalize it in my life. And Russ, brought up this idea of like lower back pain based on this sort of feedback loop. And it really can happen. I remember I really thought it was kind of BS at first. Like, oh, is this actually possible? Can thoughts and emotions actually create, you know, create physical pain? But it is 100% possible. And there's research that backs this up. And what we tend to do, you know, when we tend to, especially someone with like lower back, like, you know, my friend Russ here, if you hold tension in your lower back and then you live a tense life, it's going to happen, right? It makes perfect sense. And a lot of times what starts to happen is there's sort of that feedback cycle, like I mentioned before, that like, oh, we have that thought, we feel that feeling, and then like we're feeling that feeling. And now it's like we're stuck in the cycle, right? And so the feeling is telling us that there's a problem or that there's something wrong. And now that like now there's something wrong. And so now I have to deal with it. And it's just on and on and on and on and on. And it sucks, right? And we can put ourselves in these situations. Now, the good news is most of the time, and this is true with whether it's anxiety or physical pain caused by this, is we can relieve it by taking a step back and recognizing the possibilities, right? This might not be, Russ, for you specifically, like the way to deal with the acute back pain that you're feeling. But in order to relieve that anxiety that creates it, in order to get out of that spiral and that cycle of like thinking something and feeling it, and then that reinforcing the thought and then feeling it and then reinforce it and get out of that, the way we do that is we step back and we recognize the fact that we have no idea what's going to happen. We recognize the fact that, like, you know, like I know for me, I have been scared of shit so many times. I've been absolutely positive that the worst case scenario was going to happen. I was absolutely convinced so many times I was going to lose my job or get really sick or run into a relationship issue or, you know, pick any major life problem you can think of, right? I have been there so many times, and yet it never works out that way. Like, for every time I sit there and I'm living in the possibility, I'm creating this, right? I'm making this painting and I'm sitting in there and I'm feeling it and I'm experiencing it and it sucks and like I don't feel good and I'm stressed out. I've done that so many times, and yet the worst case doesn't really happen. It can. I'm not saying it can't. I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that it can't. But I'm saying that the vast majority of the time it doesn't. And so we have to kind of step back and ask ourselves then, like, what is the deal with this stress? Like, why would I do this? Right? Is this actually worth it? And most of the people I work with on this say no, it is not at all worth it. Like, it's not worth the physical and emotional and mental toll that it takes on us to spend time doing this. So that leads me then to, what do we do? Well, like I mentioned, if we step back and take a look at the possibilities, if we step back and start to realize, okay, where am I actually now? What is actually happening now? Okay, I don't really need this. Okay, wait, hang on. This isn't actually happening yet. When we get very real about the circumstances, we get very real about the possibilities, right? And how many different ways things can work out. When we start to focus on that, well, that brings everything into perspective, and it'll bring that tension level down a little bit. It'll help us feel a little bit better because we're not hyper focusing on one specific possibility that has yet to even happen, right? That has yet to come to fruition. In the podcast this week, I told a story about, you know, work stuff and being totally sure, back in the engineering days, that like I was absolutely going to be having a problem with a project I was working on because I hadn't done enough and whatever. And then boom, I get to the meeting and no one else had either. And we're all like, oh, well, we bit off more we can chew. I'd spent the entire weekend upset and worried that this was going to be a problem. And that problem just evaporated like that. So that's kind of the discussion for today. That's what I wanted to put out there. That's what I wanted to give to you to consider, is that when you find yourself hyper fixated on a particular possibility, it's okay. It's a normal thing. It's a natural thing. But take a minute to step back, start writing down a list of possibilities. I know for me, that always helps me feel better, right? Like I start writing, well, this could happen, or that could happen, or that could happen, or that could happen. Get creative about it, get silly about it. When you do that, you can kind of break out of that thinking rut that is being stuck in the worst case scenario. And that can completely change your experience, because at the end of the day, that thing that you're convinced is going to happen hasn't happened yet. So you don't need to suffer because of it. So let yourself have this break. Give yourself this opportunity to recognize the myriad possibilities that are out there and let go of that frustrating, scary, horrible picture you've painted for yourself. It's not worth it. Anyway, that is it from me. I will be back next week with another live video, same time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. As always, if you need me, drop it in the comments, say hello, comment on a video. I'd love to hear from more people as we're going through this process. I hope you're all doing fantastically well, and I will see you very